Welcome back, Planeswalkers, to another episode of the Hive Mind. My name is Jon Dunning, and this is the show where I traverse the multiverse in search of other prominent members of the Magic the Gathering community. And before I spoil what Planeswalker I pulled from the Blind Eternities, spoiler alert from the Gruul territory this time, I want to talk a little bit about cardsphere.com. Cardsphere.com is how the Hive Mind is happening. They are kind enough to sponsor the show. So if you have unwanted Magic cards that you want to trade, paper Magic cards that you want to trade, or you just want to buy and sell, go to cardsphere.com for all your trading, buying, and selling paper Magic needs. And if you like cool swag like this cool Cardsphere hat or t-shirts or bags or anything like that, you could go to txcp.store. That's txcp.store. Enter promo code HiveMind to get your 15% off all your cool Cardsphere swag. So, without further ado, planeswalking in from the Gruul territories or Seattle, I have Chris VanMeter, or CVM, as most people know him. Thank you for joining me, sir.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. We've been trying to link up for a little while now, and here we are.
Absolutely. Yeah, it has been a long time coming, but everything's for a reason, right? It just wasn't to be for a reason. Now we have a cool setup. We're even living in the same kind of spot now. So the fates have aligned.
The old Pacific Northwest. It works magic on people, that's for sure.
Oh, already with the puns. I like it, sir. Awesome. Well, as we start each and every Hive Mind episode, I always like to know your Magic origin story, sir.
So my Magic origin story is kind of funny, and I've done a few articles about it because I think it's a cool story. But I started playing Magic, God, what feels like a billion years ago now, when I was a freshman in high school. Good old 1996, if we want to hop in our time machine. But first, I was actually playing the old Star Wars Decipher tabletop card game. So this was a very complicated game. Not sure how I thought that it would be fun. 14 years of age, but I love Star Wars. We wanted to play. And the card shop in town that my friend and I would go to always had a big group of people there playing Magic the Gathering. And I had seen the game before because I played chess competitively in middle school and high school. And at the chess tournaments, the kids would be playing Magic in between rounds. So I had seen the game before. And when we're at this card shop, we talked to some of the guys. They gave us a bunch of cards. And so we threw together some decks. But I took my deck home and showed my mom the cards. Now, my mom is like a huge Tolkien fan, really big into fantasy, big into elves, goblins, and played a lot of D&D when she was a kid. And so when I brought these cards home and showed her to them, she was like, "Oh, this is really cool. Like, let me check them out." A few weeks later, I'm at the house playing some Magic with my buddy, and my mom's like, "Hey, you want to play Magic?" So we start playing, and she plays a Wild Growth on her Forest, and then casts Earthcraft, and then plays Sacred Mesa and makes infinite Pegasus tokens.
Oh my god!
And I'm just like, I have like 100 card like blue, white, red deck with like all the cards that I owned basically, because these guys at the card shop just gave us a bunch of free cards, and I'm just like, what just happened? Like, where did this even come from? Apparently, my mom had got a hold of one of my Scry magazines. Or maybe it was Inquest, whatever it was. In those magazines, they used to have like the killer combo features, and in the magazine she saw was Earthcraft and Sacred Mesa to make infinite Pegasus tokens. She went out and bought the cards and just beat the crap out of me with it. So I borrowed her deck, took it to the card shop, and played we used to play like big 10, 20 player multiplayer games. I make infinite Pegasus tokens, and they told me that if I ever wanted to play Magic there again, I could not play that deck.
Oh, no.
So that my Magic origin story is my mom beating me with an infinite combo.
Well, that's a first. That's a completely unique story and origin story. First off, what a cool mom! I mean,
yeah.
Seriously, that is absolutely awesome. Is that kind of where your love of green kind of started? Her kicking the crap out of you with Earthcraft?
Kind of. So like my first competitive deck that I built myself was like a Tradewind Armageddon deck that used like Birds of Paradise and Wall of Roots and like all the green mana creatures.
Tradewind Rider?
Yep, Tradewind. It's a 1/4 flyer for 3 and a blue. Oh, yeah. You tap it and 2 other creatures to bounce a permanent, aka the only land they can play every turn after you cast Armageddon. So that's where I kind of really first started to get into the green creatures, but I didn't really fall in love with it until John Monsters.
Oh, nice. Yeah, of course. So when you started, then it sounds like maybe Tempest was kind of just released.
Yep. The first booster box I ever bought was a box of Tempest. I remember taking the bus out to the card shop and then having to wait. Oh, that's such a miserable bus ride home with a sealed booster box in your backpack. You have to wait till you get home to open it because you don't want to drop your cards there on the bus.
Right. Was that when they were still? Did you get the? I don't remember. Were they sold in booster box with starter decks, or did they have the booster packs too? I don't remember.
They had both, so you could get a box of starter decks or a box of booster packs. And I always got the booster packs because I already had a bunch of basic land. Like I didn't feel like I wanted to pay extra money for some basic land in the starter decks.
Sure. Oh, man, I do miss cracking those starter decks though. There was something about it. I think there was 3 rares in it. And that was kind of like the way you got your basic lands. I remember when I stopped playing for years, it was like right after Kamigawa, and then I kind of came back when Innistrad M13 came out. I was like drafting, like, wait, how do we get the basic lands though?
Yep.
It's harder than you think, and it's almost kind of non-intuitive a little bit to new players. I've heard that kind of around the tables. They're just like, so how do you acquire all the basic lands? I'm like, well, just draft or take them from the LGS draft thing. I didn't say that.
Well,
yeah.
Thankfully now most LGSs have enough basic lands that if you're a newer player and you ask for some, they'll just give them to you.
Oh, sure, absolutely, yeah. Tempest is just a phenomenal set. That was one of those tentpole kind of sets. So, do you remember any of those? I mean, I'm thinking back to Tempest, like you said, Earthcraft. There was, I think there was Recycle. There was all those just great cards. Trade Wind Riders. That deck was running rampant at the time. I think I ran some kind of mono blue version with a lot of capsize counter spells and Trade Wind Riders with Gilded Drake. If you remember, you steal all their stuff, then you bounce everything.
Yep.
Just busted and fantastic. Do you remember any of those sweet first pulls?
No. So like my first experience, even though my mom had this combo deck, like I couldn't play it at the card shop with everybody. So I was like, here, Mom, here's your deck back. I'm going to go back to my 100 card amalgamation. But for me, the first deck that I had was a Jeskai deck. And I remember just like with all the Tron lands in it, of course, because you could get 7 mana. That was awesome for my 100 card Jeskai deck. But I do remember getting Flowstone Wyvern in a Tempest pack and thinking that, like, I hadn't seen a Shivan Dragon before, so I just thought that was the coolest card ever. And then I saw a Shivan Dragon and wanted one of those.
Sure. Were you bit by the sliver bug, so to speak, as well?
No, actually, I always thought the slivers were stupid.
How dare
I just never got into it.
Yeah? Oh, man. Did you ever see Pitch Black? I mean, that was our first Magic movie. But yeah, I mean, just going from the tables with playing your mom very competitively, I might add, to getting kicked out of the card stores with that deck. I mean, how did that transform into what became playing with the likes of the old? You were part of the Roanoke camp. You said you're from Tacoma originally, but how did that translate to wanting to kind of pack up east and go to kind of, when I think of Magic meccas, I think of Seattle because the game's made here. And then I also think of Roanoke because of it's just such a great stomping ground, no pun intended. So how did that transition go?
So it's actually a longer story. So this is like I started playing back in '96, but I didn't really start to get competitive until closer to the time that I was graduating high school. So it was just a lot of like playing with friends in high school. But as I started to get older, meeting people through like the local game store and going to play. Watts used to have just like an insane giant game center here in downtown Seattle, which was awesome. But I didn't really start to get competitive until around then. But then I took a break. So I went off to college for a year. I played sports. I played football. Got really heavy into like Diablo 2 and EverQuest and playing computer games. Just like really didn't play too much Magic until around 2002, 2003. I started to play again in the Onslaught era and got really, really heavy into it back here in the Seattle area. So I was sort of an end boss in the PTQ scene, but would always get beat. So like I would always make like the top 4 of the finals of a PTQ, but I could never, ever, ever win a PTQ. I would always lose. So that was like my kind of what I was known for in the area. But what I ended up actually doing, I had more fun trading and making money with Magic. So I I let playing take a little backseat, and I would floor deal. So at the large events, I would, find out what was on the store, the dealer's buy lists that were good deals. Then I would go out and trade for those cards and then sell them to the dealer at the end of the day to make money. So I did a lot of floor dealing, and that's how I actually met all the guys on the SCG tour. So I was living in Wichita with one of my buddies because I was out of school, didn't really know what I wanted to do, just kind of floating around wherever my friends needed me. And I had all the Magic cards and would go to all of the SCG Opens. Back then, they were one-day tournaments. They had 2 of them on the weekend. This is back in the early days of the Open Series. But I knew people that knew Jerry Thompson and AJ Soccer and Drew Levin and all those players, and they would borrow cards from me because I had all the cards and my friends would vouch for them. I'm like, sure, whatever, you can just use these cards. Then so that's how we became friends. And so in lending them cards and sitting there and listening to them and watching them play, I started to learn more and more. And then I ended up top 8 in an Open with a blue-green Genesis Wave deck that Conley Woods designed. The following weekend, I won a PTQ and got to go to the Pro Tour. And the following weekend, I qualified for Nationals. So it just kind of boom, boom, boom. And then I started playing more competitively. And I actually hit level 8 in the Open Series player reward system that they had originally while living in Wichita. And writing for Star City and doing all this stuff. But then when they got rid of the player reward series, I couldn't afford to travel around all over since I was in the Midwest. Then I quit playing for a couple of years. So that's why shortly after M10, M11, I just kind of stopped playing because I couldn't really afford it. Had a couple of jobs here and there. But I had a buddy who lived on the East Coast, a couple hours south of Roanoke. And I was always talking to him man, I wish I was out closer to that way. I'd start playing Magic again and see if I could get a job at Star City. Because I have all this knowledge from buying and selling cards and trading cards. And I know the market. I also have this competitive edge, done a bunch of strategy stuff. I think it'd be cool to get out there. And he was like, all right, well, why don't you just move here, apply, see if you can get a job. And I was like, oh, well, that's crazy enough. It just might work. And then so it did. I moved out to my buddy was in North Carolina. I applied, got a job, just started, just packing cards for orders at Star City. The first week I was there, Lauren Lee was the content manager, and she was like, I know your name. Let's have you start writing and do videos again. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I became friends with BBD, and we traveled, a million weekends out of every single month. And eventually I actually got a job. I moved up. I was the assistant to the general manager, much like Dwight Schrute on The Office, but I worked directly with Ben Bleiweiss when I was at Star City, helping them with pricing and how to process bulk properly, but also while playing Magic competitively. So it's just I kind of stumbled my way there, and it was great the entire way.
That's awesome, man. And there's a lot to be said as far as, well, I mean, there's some debate too, because you have those lone wolves I guess Sean McLaren, he kind of does his own thing. I don't know if he really kind of teams up so much anymore. But then you have those super groups, and especially back in the day, like you said, that was kind of the group back then. You had your BBDs, your Jerry T's, Todd Andersons, all that, Brad Nelson, of course. Do those guys, just being around those guys, you had to become kind of a better, you guys probably all made each other better, right?
Yeah, it was great being able to hang out with those guys and spend time with them and talk Magic. Some of the biggest strides that I've made in Magic was from, late nights, laying in a hotel room trying to figure out, the 74th and 75th slot in our deck before a tournament. Brian and I have probably amassed, I don't know, 100,000 hours on the road together. We've done 12-hour road trips both ways. Had to get up and go to work on Monday. We've done a lot of traveling, and we don't just sit in silence. We talk about a lot of puns and a lot of Magic, and I certainly have become the player that I am today because of the people that I've been able to spend time with.
It's awesome. Do you still keep in contact with a lot of those guys? It's kind of a personal question.
Yeah, I talk with Brian fairly regularly. I talked with Tom pretty regularly when he was still there, but since he's been out at Wizards, he's been kind of busy, and I don't want to bother him with, hey, what should I play in my deck when he's the one making the cards now. Jerry's back out here, so we talk and hang out every now and then. I do try and stay in contact with Brad and Todd, whenever they have something going on, or if I have any information or anything I can do to help them out.
That's awesome. And just personally as a player, I mean, you were turning in impressive results as a competitive tournament player. Like you said, you had 3 first-place SCG Opens, including the last one in Indianapolis. Do you miss the grind, and do you have any kind of plans to jump back in the competitive side of Magic?
Yeah, so I do miss the grind. I am married now, so that's one of the reasons I kind of stopped traveling and moved out this way. My girlfriend at the time and now wife got a job out here. She's in advertising, and she's at Amazon, so it certainly was a good choice to come this way. But she's in grad school, finishing up her master's in UX research, and it's hard to travel because we have to take care of the house and we have 2 dogs. So when I try to travel and I'm gone like Friday through a Monday, it's really challenging because she has all these school projects that she has to do on the weekend, also take care of the dogs, take care of the house. So like I played a little bit while we were out here, like when I won that Open after Kaladesh was printed with the Red White Vehicles deck. Like that season I was playing for Team Card Hoarder and traveling around a bit, but it was just way too much stress and her grades were affected by it. So it's like, all right, I'll just pump the brakes on it. There's a big local game store scene here, so I can play Magic whenever I really want to. But I do miss that competition. And when she graduates and finishes next spring, I hope to spend the last half of 2019 traveling around and playing more Opens.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. So if you can, just kind of dive a little bit into that, because you were part of the original like versus scene, Danny West, again BBD, all those guys. How was that? Was that your first introduction to Magic content on camera?
Yes. So I had done writing before, of course, but the versus series was my first foray into like video media for Magic, and it was real fun. I feel like the starting of it was a little rough. I don't think I was very good in the early videos.
I don't agree. I thought you were great.
Well,
I used to
thank you. I appreciate it
religiously, man. Like you have no idea.
But I think what really helped was that we switched the format. So before we just had this pool of people, and we would just like rotate in and out. So like in the first videos, I played against like Charlie Gindy and Kenny Castor and like all these other people that they had in Roanoke. But at one point, Cedric was just like, why don't we just do 2 people and they just play every week? That way you can like build rapport, create a fan base. And Brian and I both had acronyms for names, so I assume that's why we were picked. BBD versus CVM just kind of rolls off the tongue. And I think that being able to just like play week in and week out with Brian and like build that rapport, and like we were friends outside of it. And I think that a lot of that is what had to do with the success of that portion of the series on the select side.
Awesome. Yeah, they were so much fun back in the day, and I know it was stressful because that's really what Magic content was back in the day. You guys probably didn't even realize how much you were trailblazing. I mean, that really opened the door for your professors, your wedges, your commander, all that stuff, your command cast rather, and it. I mean, at times you could tell that it was kind of nerve-wracking because, you guys are considered professionals and you're trying to make the right plays. But I mean, I think the best parts of it was when it kind of broke down and it got silly, when Ari was on there. It was absolutely great stuff. And I mean, that's you're a trailblazer for Magic content. So thank you for that.
well, thank you. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun, and I've been trying to get Brian, because now he's no longer at Star City. He writes for TCG Player. And I'm no longer at Star City. I work out here on the West Coast for Card Kingdom. But I've been trying to see if Brian wants to link up to do some more gameplay style content that would be independent from any of the content offering websites. So that's something to look out for. That might be happening. He's a busy man, but I'm hoping we can make some time in his schedule.
Awesome, awesome. And Chris, you've been playing the game for 20 years, so
don't remind me, please.
20 plus years, right? Hey, I'm in the same boat with you. I'm in the old man's, the geriatric Magic club with you. So, what's your favorite era of Magic?
Oh, geez. So I had like the most tournament success in like the RTR, Theros, Innistrad era. But I think my favorite was the Urza's Saga, Urza's Legacy, Urza's Destiny era, and that's
not a lot of people wouldn't agree with that.
Well, it wasn't for constructed Magic because it was an abomination, with all of the bustedness, but it was because in that time was when I was really going to. So they still had large regional pre-releases, and the ones in this area were at the WotC Game Center, and it was we literally our moms, somebody's mom would take us all up there Friday night at 10 o'clock. We'd play in the midnight pre-release. They would run another flight at the game center. They'd close down for 3 hours. We'd go across the street to Denny's and get pancakes. We'd come back and play in the 8 a.m. pre-release, and it would just be all weekend. And I wouldn't trade any of that time for the world. There was usually 5 or 6 of us that would go, and it was some of the funnest times that I've had, even though I had no idea what I was doing. I was just playing Magic.
That's so awesome. And little did they know your mom wasn't just a chauffeur. She could sub in and really kick ass.
Yeah,
and
she
take
just
names.
Go in there and beat everybody if she wanted.
So what was that? I mean, you guys all had that run. It seemed like it was a big, close, like tight-knit, close-knit family for a long time. And then you saw everyone kind of break off. So what made you decide to make the trek from Roanoke to Seattle?
Well, so when I was still in Roanoke, I met my now wife. She lived up in South Jersey, and so it was like 6 hours. So I would go up and visit her. She'd come down and visit me. But she also played Magic, which is kind of how we met. So we would meet up and spend weekends at the Opens and things like that, which was really cool because this was like during the time that I had like my insane run to qualify for the Players Championship in that season too. I had like 5 top 8s and like won a tournament and finally got to shave my beard and all that crazy stuff. But she ended up getting a job out here, and I'm originally from the area, and so she moved out, and then I finished out a season and moved out with her, and been here ever since. It's been almost 4 years now, and it's been fun. I tried the full-time streaming gig. It's way harder than anybody tells you that it is, and so I just was not cut out for it. Ultimately, I just went back to what I knew and got a job at a card shop, working for Card Kingdom here in Seattle, and I kind of turned it into a little bit of a career, so I'm happy about that.
So, and that's kind of full circle, right? Because you were kind of running the trade floor, so to speak, making your money that way. So, and now you're product manager of one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Magic companies on the map. Talk about a little bit of that. And I know you're still doing some content, especially for the Card Kingdom YouTube channel. And I think you're still writing as well. So talk about that transition from kind of content creation, writing, and now being more on the professional business side.
Yeah, so when I first moved out here and started working, I kept writing for Star City. So like, even though I was working at Card Kingdom, I was still doing content for Star City, and it worked out fine. There really wasn't too much of a conflict of interest, even though they are technically competitors. Like, our markets are way different, and we don't have any presence out there. They don't have any presence out here, so it wasn't that bad. But I found when I was not traveling and playing Magic all the time, I feel like my content was starting to suck. Like, I just didn't enjoy the writing because I was like scrambling for things to write about. It didn't feel like I was being genuine. So ultimately, I just stopped doing content for Star City. I've done a few blog articles for Card Kingdom. I have a video series where I kind of show off like cool products that we have there. And we're on the verge of getting some streaming stuff up and running, so I might start helping out with streaming on the Card Kingdom Twitch channel. But it mainly has just been working, and I've kind of created this role for myself there as a product manager, handling all of the custom products that we make. So we have battle decks and rookie decks, and the Card Kingdom Starter Cube are the 3 biggest things that we offer. And they are I spend time designing them, and they are all custom, and they're a unique play experience that you can only get from getting these products. And it's not, the same thing as just throwing 60 cards together and selling somebody your bulk. Like, I have another person that I work with, and we sit down every month and we put together deck lists and we test everything out. And sometimes we have to buff decks, sometimes we have to nerf decks because they're too good. We've kind of created this own kitchen table format that's very, very fun to play and very easy to just sit down, pull the decks out, play a couple games, and then get back to work.
That's awesome. Are you in the store quite a bit?
Sometimes. So I work up above the store, Mock Sporting House in Bellevue in Seattle. We have our online fulfillment is above the store, and I try to play there as often as I can. Not able to too much because I got a bunch of stuff going on at home, but I do try and play FNM every now and then, playing some of the other tournaments. But we do every month when we do our play testing, it's usually down in the tournament room area, and people will come in and hang out and look at what we're doing. Like, oh, is that Legacy? We're like, no, this is our own thing. Like, you can go check it out.
That's awesome. Do you get a lot of? Are you CVM still?
Not as much as I used to, since
Okay.
I'm not doing content or commentating, and so I'm not in the spotlight as much as before. But when I first moved out there, I did get a lot of "Are you CVM?" or people would come into the store and ask if I could come down and sign stuff for them, that kind of thing.
Awesome.
Never gets old. It's always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So how much Magic are you still playing right now, and what's your favorite format going on right now?
Not as much as I wish I could,
Sure.
but that's mainly just a time thing between working full time and Seattle traffic. I actually spend a lot of time just driving because there are a billion people here in the city, and everything else. I don't get to play as much, but I usually play, between 3 and 5 games on Magic Online just about every night, and then I'll try and go to a FNM or another tournament on the weekend. Twice a month, maybe 3 times a month. I was really, really liking Standard for a bit right after M19 came out because I was on the VanMeter train really early. But now that everybody else is, it's starting to get a little miserable. So I'm learning Mardu Pyromancer and Modern is what's currently going on. I'm going to be streaming that for the next couple of weeks while my wife's out of town. And I've had a lot of fun playing that deck. Young Pyromancer is one of my favorite cards. I have my elemental token from my SCG days.
Yeah.
For Young Pyromancer, still got a bunch of those I'll get to use. And I don't know, the deck seems sweet. I've had a lot of fun.
I didn't want to seem like a stalker and bust one of those out, but I have some in my little collection still. I'll be like, yeah, like this,
I still have a set that my wife altered for me at some random tournament because I wanted her to draw some stuff on it. So I have 4 that she's turned me into the singers from Kiss.
Nice.
And then I have Batman and Bane, and then one is Finn from Adventure Time.
Excellent.
And then one is Kanye West.
Oh no,
with the sunglasses and everything.
Nice. Yeah, the Finn from Adventure Time one's awesome. Eric Williamson in the chat says, "Chris, please grade my cards well." Or right? I think he's sending something in. Please grade my cards well, Chris. He says.
I don't grade, even though I have graded. I fill in when they need me, but I will. I'll let them know that there's some special cards.
Eric Williamson says, "Yeah, keep your eyes out for that." But yeah, man. So what's your favorite Magic memory? And this could be literally anything. It could be playing. It could be a tournament. It could be just being able to travel somewhere because Magic existed and you were a part of it. What's your favorite memory that was because of Magic the Gathering?
Well, I have some pretty good memories. Like my mom beating me with that combo deck is good.
Sure.
Winning a PTQ and getting to go to Japan to play in the Pro Tour was pretty good. Winning, that Open with Jund Monsters and getting to shave my giant homeless beard was pretty good. But I'd have to say proposing to my wife. So I met my wife through Magic, and at the time I was still streaming full time, and I actually proposed to her on live when I was streaming Magic, and that was
so cool.
That's pretty nice to have everybody that was in my community there to be able to see it. So I think that was pretty nice.
Do you guys play a lot together?
Actually, no, we don't play any Magic together. So doesn't play Magic anymore. Once she wasn't able to play with like Thragtusk and Liliana in Standard, she kind of lost interest.
That's fair.
But she's a poor loser, and I'm too good to like play bad.
Sure.
So I just keep winning, and she doesn't have fun. Like, she doesn't have fun when I beat her, but she doesn't want me to just let her win. So we've just decided to not play Magic. Although the first time we met, like physically got together and meet, we played Magic. Her deck, she played Mono Black Devotion was the deck that she played, and I was playing Jund Monsters, and I overloaded Mizzy and Mortars to kill her 4 packed rats. She said she didn't want to talk to me anymore.
And she still said yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Mono Black Devotion, you're lucky that she didn't meet BBD, right? Jeez.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so Magic isn't the only community that you've contributed to. You've also done some stuff for like the Hex CCG. And what are some of the other games that you're involved with?
So I played a bit of Hearthstone, as everybody has at this point. And I've played, I think my favorite non-Magic card game right now is the Elder Scrolls Legends.
Wow.
So it's a very unique digital game. It has some similar elements to one of my favorite physical card games that's not Magic, Kaijudo, which is no longer around. It's the US reskin of Duel Masters, another Wizards property. But Elder Scrolls Legend is an awesome game. I actually looked into it like a year and a half ago, because I was like looking for another digital game to put my time into. And one of my friends, Christian Van Hoos, CVH, which is what he goes by, so it's kind of weird, CVH. But he was like the biggest content creator for the game. But I had met him because he was one of the professional Kaijudo players before the game fell apart. And so like started talking with him, learning about the game, started playing it a bunch. I'm like, dude, this game is awesome. Like, how come nobody else is playing it? Why isn't there all this stuff out there? It's because there's zero organized play. Nothing. Like, there's some community ran tournaments, but that's like absolutely it. But now he is the community manager for Elder Scrolls Legends, the Bethesda card game, and they've recently launched their first organized play. So they have a master series where you play in these qualifiers and can win a bunch of money. So I think that is the next. If I were to put more time into a like competitive digital card game, Elder Scrolls Legends is certainly where I would be. It strikes me as Magic with less variance.
Okay, but not Hearthstone.
No, it's the same type of resource system with Hearthstone, where you just get like a mana every turn, and there's like some catch-up mechanics, but there's way less variance in that game.
Nice, awesome. So, what are you looking for? Again, not just keep bringing up that we're old, but we've been around for a while, and we've seen a lot of changes with Magic, and we've seen all the times that Magic was supposed to die, and it hasn't. Of course, it's still, in my opinion, the best card game, best probably game ever created. What are you looking forward to the most? And we could start with, what are you looking forward to the most with Guild of Ravnica?
I'm looking forward to see how Ravnica's changed. So that there's been a lot of talks about how, well, one of my biggest problems with Return to Ravnica is that we went back to Ravnica, but it just felt like the same Ravnica. Sure. Like supposedly all these years had gone by and there's this new storyline, but it didn't feel like anything had changed. And from the creative and the art direction that I've seen so far with Guild of Ravnica, it's going to feel like a new Ravnica. We're going to see new re-envisioning of the guilds. The aesthetics will be different. Hopefully the mechanics will be fresh and different. But I'm also looking forward to see what's going on with Gruul.
Absolutely.
I'm ready to go back to the stomping grounds.
I forgot, is Gruul part of the initial 5, or is that coming in the next set?
It's in Ravnica Allegiance.
Oh no, I think Orzhov is too.
We will get Golgari in the first one, so I'm excited for that.
That's fine. See, that's a guild that you and I could kind of meet on the middle on, because I'm a big Orzhov guy. And I thought Return to Ravnica was like the new hotness kind of when I came back in. Like I said, it was right after Innistrad came out. And I just thought that it did feel like an upgrade to me for sure, and especially Return to Ravnica and Gatecrash, because I loved the Orzhov mechanic. But then there were some duds. I think Dimir kind of wasn't great, and I know even Rosewater, who is just like, this is Ravnica's kind of his baby, with like Izzet and stuff. So I'm really with how kind of frustrated he was with the design and kind of how the entire block turned out, especially kind of the end with Dragon's Maze. I am quite excited that it's not just going to be a fresh coat of paint, that it is going to be different, because, and I'll even be completely honest. And I guess I'm a little bit of a cynic or realist anyways. When they did the initial trailer for it, when they were talking about it, and they're just like, oh, the new thing is the seasons. And I'm like, oh God, no, just like, we need more, because this is the third. This is, to complete the trilogy. So I am extremely excited. I want to see, all the Gruul, all the Rakdos, all that craziness. But are you going to be playing a lot with the new Commander coming out, or is that kind of not your bag?
So I have this really weird relationship with Commander where I absolutely love to play Commander, but I hate like designing and building Commander decks. It's like I love to play with other people's Commander decks.
Okay.
I'm hyper competitive is a fair term to use, and that's kind of the antithesis to what the format is. And rather than spend the time agonizing over, what the best green 4-drop is that does this effect that I want it to do, I would just rather somebody hand me a deck and I'll play with that deck. Sure. That being said, I do have a Commander deck that I finally built. It's Athreos, God of Passage. So you might approve of that one.
My man.
And it's a lot of fun. And I got a lot of foils for it, so that's kind of cool too. But again, I really enjoy playing Commander and like hearing people talk about Commander and talk about like, what the idea is behind the format and things like that. But sitting down and trying to design and construct a Commander deck, I do not want to do that. I do not find that fun.
So I'm guessing you like just like the whatever the most competitive staples are, and there's a ton of those in black white, and I have the deck or had the deck, and I completely concur. I love that. It's kind of a tax deck, right? It's like a death and taxes. And I don't know if that's the way you built it. That's the way I built mine, where you're doing all the fleshbag marauders and merciless executioners, and you're killing your stuff and making them make that choice. Man, it's the best Punisher style mechanic deck that you'll ever play.
Yep, lots of value.
Oh yeah. All right. So with new online shifts in the game like Arena, what do you think the immediate long-term future is for Magic, and where do you see the innovation of the game? You said you mentioned Elder Scrolls, and that's kind of an online. Do you think, are you happy with Arena, and do you think that's kind of the future of the game?
So I was skeptical about their claim of keeping Arena and Magic Online side by side, but all of their decisions so far and how the direction currently is leads me to believe that is what's going to happen. So I think that we will see maybe at some point Magic Online will go away and Arena will be the only thing, but I think that's very unlikely. So it's really just kind of pick what you want to do. So like if you are already enfranchised in Magic Online, I think it's going to be hard pressed to get those people to switch over to Arena. But for the people that are starting to play Magic, for the people that may play Magic but not already be invested in Magic Online, Arena is going to be a perfect means for that. But I think that it will absolutely fail if they don't port it to mobile. Mobile is going to be the most important thing for it. We talked about Hex earlier. Hex is on the verge of failing, basically. And I think that the biggest reason for that is because they haven't been able to come through on their promise to their backers of the game hitting mobile.
Sure.
Yeah. These types of games need to hit mobile to be able to stay alive.
Yeah, that's yeah, and at this point it's almost crazy, and I don't want to be too critical, but it's almost crazy that we haven't gotten that yet. Just, I mean, it feels like at this point we're 3 years behind everyone, right?
Yeah, although like Magic as a game and as an IP is just so amazing. I don't think that
Sure.
really matters. But they still, like, if they can't get it to mobile, then it will fail. People will just, like, if I can play Hearthstone on the toilet and not Magic, I'm just going to keep playing Hearthstone.
Sure.
You know, if I'm on my treadmill and I have my tablet, and I can play Hearthstone or Elder Scrolls Legends or whatever rather than Magic Arena. I'm just going to do that. Why would I play Magic Arena when I can play this other digital game that's, just as fun?
I do my best editing in my office.
Yeah, the office.
All right, Chris, it's time for the game. This is Face the D20. Do you have a spin die or a spin die? Do you have a spin down by you? If not, it's okay. I could spin for you.
I have a pre-release kit. Let's see if there's a dice in here. Oh, there is.
Oh, yes. All right. This is unprecedented. I'm going to have the guest spin his own questions. Yeah, this is cutting edge stuff that you're a part of.
Yeah, we are prepared.
All right. So okay. So what Face the D20 is I have 20 questions, non-magic related. So what you do, you're going to spin that spin down, and whatever question it lands on, you gotta answer it.
All right, deal.
All right. So whenever you're ready, sir.
11.
Number 11. Okay, MCU or Star Wars? I'm taking a stab at the dark. You might be a film fan as well.
Oh, this is real hard. So I grew up on Star Wars, but if I had a choice between a random MCU movie and a random Star Wars movie right now, I would 100% pick MCU.
Oh, man, I'm so with you.
I
know. I feel and I feel that kind of almost dirtiness answering it that way too, because I was such a Star Wars. I still am such a Star Wars fan, but MCU just can do no wrong at this point. All right, sir.
They are killing it.
Oh, just so when they're bad, they're good. It's like pizza. All right, sir. Whenever you're ready.
Oh, I gotta do it again.
Oh yeah.
All right. We rolled a 20.
A 20. 20s are usually crazy stuff. Let's see. If you had to get stuck in an elevator for 8 hours, besides immediate family, who would you choose to be stuck with?
In an elevator for 8 hours?
Yeah. You can tell I came up with this question when I used to work at a hotel.
Yeah. Do they have to be alive?
No. I mean, hopefully they're alive. They weren't alive when they went in and then not alive when they came out, because then we have a whole new set of problems.
I think that I would pick the professor from Tolarian Community College, because I've spent a bit of time with him and he is an enjoyable fellow to chat with.
He is a very agreeable fellow to chat with, and I would just like to caveat that with adding a bottle of High West bourbon and 2 glasses, because I like drinking with that man.
Yep.
He is a good drinking buddy. All right, that's a very good answer. MTG strategist from the chat says pick me. So I guess you failed on that one, sir.
Sorry, man.
All right, new roll of the dice.
All right. 19, and I'm rolling pretty hot.
Wow, you are. All right, well, maybe we should go back to Vegas. What is your culinary triforce? Perfect breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert.
Well, that's 4. That's not a triforce.
That's true. Well, I knew it, and I just kept saying it.
So for breakfast, biscuits and gravy.
Oh, my man.
For lunch, chicken teriyaki.
Look at you. I had that for lunch.
For dinner, pizza. Pepperoni pizza with black olives.
Okay.
And for dessert would be probably Rocky Road ice cream.
Look at you. All right. Man, I should have called you for lunch. I had sunny teriyaki. It was delicious.
Oh, that's real good.
Yeah, it's really good. All right. Let's you got time for 2 more die rolls?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. Rolling hot. Oh, you got to tell, maybe off air, you got to tell me a good pizza place, because I have yet to find one up here.
So it depends on what you're looking for as far as like chains in the area. Pagliacci's is actually really good, although it's a little expensive. And there's a Windy City Pizza, I think they're called, here on 15th, that do like Chicago style pies that are also very, very good.
Excellent, excellent.
We rolled a 16.
16. We have, what animal insect are you most afraid of?
So this is one of those weird things because, like, I'm not really afraid of, like, small insects, that type of thing, like normal, like, spiders or whatever. I'm not afraid of.
Sure.
But centipedes kind of creep me out.
They do move weird.
Yeah.
It's a real fear up here right now because I'm in Bothell, and they're just cutting down everything, unfortunately, to build new homes. This place is blowing up. And like bears is a real threat. Bears and coyotes are like everywhere right now.
Jeez.
So I don't know. I mean, I think you could handle a bear. You look like a man that can handle a bear. I would
try.
I'm gonna cry and get in the fetal position, get eaten, and I'll be one of his Triforce of culinary and all that. So, all right.
As long as it's not a black bear, just climb a tree.
As long as it's not a black bear, climb a tree. What do I do if it's a black bear?
Don't climb a tree because they can climb better than you.
Then you're screwed. All right.
Yeah.
Good to know. All right. So I'm okay if it's not a black. Total MTG says pigeons. There's not too many. We do have the Bothell Murder, which is a bunch of ravens that fly over. We're in a migration path, which is pretty sweet.
Huh. There are a lot of seagulls here in Seattle because we're right at the Sound.
Sure.
And they are snipers. I've been pooped on while walking through parking lots multiple times. It's unbelievable.
Oh, no. That's terrible, man. Oh, yeah.
Let's roll again.
All right. Last roll. Make it a good
8.
one. Number 8. Okay. So this kind of goes back to your necromancer question earlier in the elevator. If you have a dinner with any dead celebrity, who would it be?
Any dead celebrity.
Could be president, could be a band member, actor, actress, dealer's choice.
That's a pretty good one. I would probably have to go with Jimmy Durante.
I'm drawing a blank.
Because I'm related to him. He's an old actor.
Okay.
Big nose. Cha-cha-cha.
Oh, yeah. You're related to him?
Yeah, I'm actually related to Jimmy Durante. So I would have a meal with one of my ancestors.
Dude, that's awesome. Way to close the Face the D20 off on that nugget. That's great. All right. So anything that you're working on that you could, any future projects that you could kind of spoil for the group?
Like I said, I'm doing this modern streaming project on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Chris_VanMeter. You can check me out there. I'm on Twitter at Chris_VanMeter. You can also check me out there. I tend to share a lot of the cool things that I'm working on at Card Kingdom. Also, whenever we're doing like surveys, I tend to share those too. So that's pretty helpful. I don't really have like any top secret projects going on, but anything that I'm involved in does get posted on my social. So just make sure you check that out.
Excellent, man. Well, please thank Rurik Thar for letting you kind of take the night off and come planeswalk over here to join us on the Hive Mind. Before I let everyone go, I just want to say, thank you again, Cardsphere, for making this happen. If you want cool hats, shirts, txcp.store, 15% off. And that's a good price. Get cheap shirts and cheap hats, and it's got a cool logo on it. So again, Chris VanMeter, thank you so much for coming on the Hive Mind. I'm so glad we got to do this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been a blast.
Awesome. And you can find me on the social medias on Twitter at OrzovDunn. You could also find me on Facebook as Jon Dunning. You could find me on Instagram at They Said We Said. You can also find me right here on this very channel. They Said We Said. You guys are going to make me be that, subscribe, hit the buttons, do all the things, because us YouTubers are really struggling because YouTube's making it not so easy anymore. So do all the things, share all the videos, and
you got to do the point. People might not know where it is. Hit
Smash
the subscribe button.
Yeah. I got to get all Jersey Shore about it. But yeah, thank you again, Chris. I'm Jon. Planeswalkers, we'll see you next time in the multiverse.